Alumni and members of the university community and community friends, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all and to thank you for joining us for this dedication ceremony for Helen's Garden.
During my retirement last year, I started doing a lot of research on the founder and the founder's wife. Well, actually, they're co-founders, I think. I found out in my reading, and the more I got involved in it, this more compelling Helen almost came to life in my life. I just kept thinking about her, what a dynamic person she was, an extraordinary educator. Her motivational tactics, you know, to get students to do things. I think in Woodbridge's own words, he stated that students did things because they didn't have the courage to come and tell her that they couldn't do it. And that this an extraordinary woman in so many ways. Her love for nature, I think Woodbridge and Helen both shared that very much, and their love for education and all the lives that they've touched because of this.
It's always been an area that I thought was underutilized. There would be an opportunity to be able to put something unique in this particular location. And so when the opportunity came that there would be a garden designed for this particular area, the idea came then that maybe we would do it as a class project. That rather than me or maybe some other individual designing it, that we could have, and in the true spirit of the Ferrises, have a student involved in this particular project. So the plan was then to have the students in the ornamental horticulture program, and specifically in my landscape design class, come up with a plan. It would be kind of a competitive situation where the students would compete for the possibility then of having their design chosen and then be able to actually have it installed. And the opportunity for a student like Josh was a student then obviously in that class to be able to come back here year after year or 20 years from now, or bring his kids sometime, that they could also then see a project that was kind of initiated through the class actually came into being.
It's nice to come up and see something that you designed actually come to life, actually be done. A good first project under my belt, something that I can take with me, something people that can look at and for years to come. And the plant structure there, the idea that I had was to use plants that were native to Big Rapids area and plants that were really popular in the time that Helen would have been planting them. So it's something that you don't have to go very far to see similar plants, yet they're all in one spot and people can reach out.
The professor never wants to give up in speaking, so I'll make a few more comments. Gardens are really a dynamic art form. They change. So what you see today isn't what you'll see next spring. And what you see next spring won't be what you'll see in the fall of next year as everything develops. So it's the kind of thing that is very important to visit on a regular basis. And another characteristic of gardens is that they are not without care. In other words, they need attention. And so we do depend on volunteers to come and assist us in the maintenance of these gardens.
It's a very special day. According to tributes from her friends and family at her memorial in 1917, Helen Gillespie Ferris loved flowers, trees, and nature. On September 8, 2009, a very special project was begun to honor Helen's memory, with a memorial garden during the celebration of the university's 125th anniversary. And now today we celebrate the official dedication and the hard work that's gone into creating this beautiful space on the campus of Ferris State University. From the grounds crew to Professor John Vanderploeg, his students, and community volunteers, the creation of the garden and what it signifies truly represents the spirit of Helen Gillespie Ferris, the spirit of kindness and gentleness. Not only is it an important day to the university, but it's a great day for the community. sitting in the garden and being able to reflect upon our lives and our community may inspire others to think about what they are passionate about and how they can give back or pay it forward to the community. Thank you everyone for attending and being a part of this very special day in the history of Ferris State University.
The story of the Ferris Institute is also a love story between two remarkable individuals, Helen Gillespie and Woodbridge Nathan Ferris. They first met in the early autumn of 1872 at the Oswego Normal Training School in New York. Helen would graduate in the summer of 1873 and begin teaching in Franklin and Fulton, Indiana.
During the spring of 1874, Mr. Ferris gained employment as the principal of the Spencer Free Academy in New York. Helen and Woodbridge Ferris were married on December 23, 1874 at the Gillespie home. And it's also true that Helen's sister was also married that day. Imagine marrying two daughters 2 days before Christmas in the middle of the winter in New York. They both taught together at the Spencer Academy. After 5 years, when Woodbridge Ferris served as superintendent of schools in Pittsfield, Illinois, they arrived here on May 16, 1884, following what Mr. Ferris describes as a tedious journey. When the Big Rapids Industrial School opened its doors on September 1st, 1884, Helen and Woodbridge were its only teachers. Mrs. Ferris would teach at the Ferris Institute until 1901, when health challenges forced her retirement.
We know some of Mrs. Ferris from the memorial volume assembled by Woodbridge Ferris when she passed away in 1917. It is easy to sense his love and admiration for this remarkable woman, his wife of 42 years. In these pages, Mrs. Ferris is described as a beautiful, dignified, gracious woman who loved books and drama, and who delighted in nature. She had the enthusiasm of a child for getting out of doors and into the sunshine, where she could laugh with the flowers, the trees, and the birds.
Mr. Ferris describes their home in these words: "I was born with a melancholy disposition. Mrs. Ferris furnished the sunshine for her husband and boys. She listened patiently to the trials and tribulations of her children and her husband. Her love and sympathy for children extended far beyond her own hearthstone."
I find it especially interesting Mr. Ferris's observation about Helen's teaching. Her love for young people was profound. She was eager to assist, direct, encourage, and instruct the most backward and discouraged students. Her gracious manners won the abiding love of all who came under her instruction. Her students exerted themselves to the utmost simply because they could not summon the courage to disappoint her.
Here personified was the opportunity of which her husband so frequently spoke, but in a kinder, gentler, more humanized fashion. Fittingly, Woodbridge sums up Helen's contributions best. "Whatever there is in the Ferris Institute that resembles the work of the teacher of teachers had its origin in the 17 years of love and service rendered by Mrs. Ferris."
For me, it is so very fitting that we gather here today to honor one of our founders, Helen Gillespie Ferris, and that we do so by recognizing her great love of flowers and the out of doors. Thank you very much for being here on this historic occasion, on this campus Mrs. Ferris helped found, as we celebrate a truly remarkable woman through the timeless beauty of nature.
1, 2, 3. Congratulations.